Hello everyone. In today's session, I will explore one very important topic which is usually required, for example, in accounts department when the accounting clerk or the person who is entering the vendor invoices in ERP system. So he need to check the information given by the vendor to the same information available in the system against the purchase order, which was basically the commitment when it was placed to a vendor or supplier, and against that whatever the delivery of services or goods have happened in the past, so it should match the vendor invoice information to the purchase order as well as to the product received. So product received sometime are called GRN, goods received note, or sometime they are also called delivery challan or DC. So in this topic, we will cover basically accounts payable invoice matching, which basically matches the information of vendor invoice to the documents like purchase order or product receipt. So there are four kind of matching which I will explore in this topic. So the first one is totals, then there is two-way matching, and then there is a three-way matching, and then the charges matching. So my name is pirkhurramrashdi, and you are watching my YouTube channel. So first of all, we'll explore what is accounts payable invoice matching, and then we'll look into some details in invoice total matching, and then I will also define what is basically two-way matching, and then we'll explore three-way matching, and finally there will be charges matching. And lastly, we'll also perform some demos so that how practically things are going on. We need to just check in the system. So what is basically accounts payable matching? It defines to be a process where a vendor invoice is being matched to a purchase order and product received information, and that is called basically accounts payable invoice matching, or simply sometimes it is referred to as vendor invoice matching. So normally there can be discrepancies which occur whenever there are differences in these documents. So purchase order and product receipt and invoices are the documents which may not match sometime due to the realities when, for example, vendor has increased the price, whereas actually they have committed certain price on purchase order level. But on the vendor invoice, they are giving us higher prices, and we need to just check it whether they are basically fulfilling their commitment. And then there is a tolerance percentage or amount which can be defined in the system in order to allow to a certain extent within the allowed limits the discrepancies which are happening in terms of percentages or amounts. Then there are certain match variance icons which are shown in, for example, on the invoice page. Whenever there is some certain variance, and there are certain signals or flags which are basically helping out whoever is entering vendor invoice in accounts department. And not only these are available on invoice page, but also on invoice history or matching details page to reflect discrepancy that exceeds the tolerance limit. So the example of this can be whenever, for example, a purchase order was placed to a vendor or supplier of 100 tires at a price of 500 USD each. But the PO was then approved and given to vendor, and then vendor delivers the same number or quantity of the product, which is tires. 100 tires are delivered, and product receipt is entered in the system for 100 tires at a price of 500 USD each. So the inventory cost for a battery is updated with this price. And then lastly, when the invoice is received for 100 tires, so it is entered at a price of 10 USD each. So vendor is basically providing you a vendor invoice of 10 USD. The legal entity policy allows a 1% tolerance for this item. So a price of 505 USD would be acceptable, but 510 USD is not. So this in whenever the invoice information is being entered, so the price matching discrepancy will be identified in this case, and until this discrepancy is resolved, you cannot save the invoice. So this is the main function, and this helps in business scenario. When imagine you are receiving thousands of invoices on daily basis, and you need to also ensure that whatever the price or whatever the quantity was delivered, so vendor invoice should match it. So it means that if the product received is delivered, for example, 50 tires, and the vendor is supplying you 100 tires invoice, so this should not tally or should not match with the delivered quantity. You should not pay more than whatever was delivered by the vendor. So this matching of accounts payable matching or vendor invoice matching will help in these scenarios. So so now I will just a little bit explore in the briefly. For example, invoice total matching. So what is it? It is basically a functionality where you don't have to go into much detail, but you are just checking the total amounts on the invoice, whether they are matching to the total amount on the purchase order. You must be aware about the total form, which is available not only on purchase order but also on the vendor invoice. So you need to check every time by opening the totals form whether the total pricing and every detail are matching with the purchase order. So instead of checking it, you just enable the invoice totals matching in the parameters or accounts payable parameter, and then it will take care for this. So this is a very useful function. So this type of invoice matching includes least amount of details, means you don't have to worry on a line level. You are just comparing only totals. So the option is basically used to set up few controls which will minimize the staff time that is required to review the invoice matching information. As I defined, that totals form is avoided or is skipped in this case because automatically system is matching the invoice totals. So you don't have to every time launch the totals form. So then there is two-way matching. And basically two-way matching is when the price information on the invoice is matched to the same on purchase order. So if the pricing of the product or services are not matched, so two-way matching will fail. So there can be a tolerance which can be defined on the policy level as well as on a parameter level, as you can see on the screenshot here. This screenshot is coming from accounts payable parameters, and then invoice validation tab. There you can find this price and quantity matching, and then once you select this two-way matching in the line matching policy, and then you can also define the certain tolerance level which are available in the parameter. So it means now two-way matching is the matching of price information on vendor invoice to the price information on purchase order. What about three-way matching? This includes also the quantity matching of the vendor invoice to that quantity available in product received, which was earlier on posted. So match the price information on invoice to the price information on the purchase order. This was also available in two-way matching, but here additionally also it matches the quantity information on the invoice to the quantity information on product received that are selected for the invoice. So once the default quantity is selected on vendor invoice to be product received, so the invoice will tally the quantity to that of available on product received. This will ensure that you are not paying more than the quantity that was delivered. So this is also a very useful function, and there is also tolerance which can be defined here. And then lastly, there are charges matching, which are basically the landed cost charges or freight charges and other kind of admin charges which are available on purchase order, and those will be matched to those in the invoice level. So this is basically, normally it happens that sometime whatever the charges which are available on purchase order are not beforehand they are known, such as freight charges. So they can reach you at a later level because like for example, if your material is on the ports, so they will incur the charges on daily basis. So in that case, the landed cost will increase definitely, and that might not match whatever was on purchase order. But in certain case, if the vendor is taking care of this and they have committed a certain charges and later on they increase the charges, so this will also help to tally basically the charges which were basically put on the vendor invoice, so that they are matched to the purchase order, because vendor already committed for a certain fixed charges. So now we will go to the demonstration and we'll see how these various functions work. So we'll see here in accounts payable, we can go to the accounts payable parameters, and there you can go to the invoice validation tab, and you can see here there is a first option of first group of invoice validation. This is the main switch. So if you switch it off, so everything will be switched off. So these all settings are the same which I have just explained. First of all, invoice totals matching, then there is a price and quantity matching, which includes two-way matching or three-way matching within that group. In specifically line matching policy field, you can define either it's two-way matching or three-way matching. So price and quantity matching will be covered in this one, and then there will be charges matching. But the main switch, if it is off, so nothing will be working. So it means you need to enable the main switch first, main checkbox first need to be turned to yes, and then there is one option which is very useful, but it also has some impact on performance when you are creating a vendor invoice. Basically, it will automatically match the various settings instead of a manual match. So if you turn it on, so it is showing also that enable automatic updates of invoice header match status may lead to slower performance during vendor invoice data entry. So if you select OK, so whenever you create a vendor invoice, so at that time you don't have to click every time to pass the match status. So instead of that, system will automatically match the various settings. So okay, so I will turn it off and we'll do it manually. And here you can see there is a match invoice totals, which will without any very detailed level matching. This will only check the totals whatever are available on invoice level to those totals available on purchase order level. So I will just turn it yes, and without any tolerance defined here. We'll then see there are two-way matching setting here. If you enable this, as I have explained, that it will only match the price information available on vendor invoice to the price information available on purchase order. But if I enable three-way matching, this will also cover the quantity matching of vendor invoice to the quantity on the product received, which is selected on vendor invoice. So based upon that, it will match quantities as well as the pricing details. And then at the last are charges matching. If you enable, so it will also match the charges on vendor invoice to those charges defined on the purchase order level. So I will enable everything here and just save it, and then we'll go to accounts payable, and we'll go to all purchase order form, from where we can just generate a product receipt, and then we'll generate a vendor invoice. So let me find a purchase order. So this one I have already created. So we'll just check what are the lines here. You can see a crossover product is available here, which I have defined as a purchase line, and warehouse site being defined, and quantity of 40 is available, along with unit price of 27.25 USD, making it a net amount of 1,090 bucks. So these are the various settings, and one more setting I would also let me explain one more thing. If you have turned any parameters, as just I have shown to you, so to any existing purchase order, those will not get effect if talking about a two-way or three-way matching. So you need to just check in the setup of a purchase line that a matching policy of three-way matching is defaulted once the parameter is already set on three-way or two-way matching. So for example, in existing purchase order, once you change or enable three-way matching or two-way matching in parameters will not take effect until you change it manually. So you can also change it manually. For example, this option is available on purchase line. So since we have already defined three-way matching, so and then we created this purchase order, so the setting were automatically defaulted from the parameter. So that is not the case for total and charges matching, because that will be taken care from parameters. So now unit price and quantity being defined, what I will do is I will do a product receipt for this item. So before that I need to confirm also. So the PO is now in confirm status, and now I can go to the receive action pane, and then I can open the product receipt page, and here in the product receipt page I can just give a product receipt number. So I will just receive all the quantity, which is 40, and just press OK. So it will post the product receipt against this purchase order. So now you can see the status is changed to received status, and all the quantity has been received. And now I need to go to the invoice and generate an invoice. So now you can see at the top there is a match status not performed. So nothing has been matched so far, and but here you can see the effect of three-way matching is passed and passed. Passed for quantity, that is the vendor invoice quantity, that is 40, is being matched to the because now this is defaulted from product received quantity, and a product received number is also mentioned here, which we just have posted. So the default quantities are coming from the product received quantity, that is this one, and that's why the quantity which is being now entered in vendor invoice automatically is 40 from product received is matching, as well as the price is matching. So now what if for example I define here to be the quantity to be 45. So now as you can see, the product received quantity match is now failed, and it will not allow it to be posted. So based upon whatever settings you have defined in parameters. So for example, then I again change it back to quantity to be 40. So now the product received quantity is passed status, and what about the unit price here? Instead of 27.25, if I do it 27.50, so the net amount will also change to 1100 bucks. So here you can see the unit price 27.25, and here it is to 27.50. So it means there is some tolerance defined already, so that need to be checked here. So here it is saying that display unit price match icon if greater than tolerance, lower or higher than allow matching policy override, then the company policy. So now I will just show you invoice matching setup group in accounts payable in the setup. So here you can see the price tolerance page is available. Similarly, you can also see the matching policy, invoice totals tolerance, charges tolerance, and item price tolerance groups. So these are various settings which are relevant with the accounts payable vendor invoice matching. So first we will need to go to the price tolerance, and in the price tolerance you can see here there are specific to the item settings which allows to define a unit price tolerance percentage to be 3% for all the accounts code, means all the vendors. So then if you go to the second row, it is defining to be a vendor specific tolerance level, that is a vendor code of 1001, and 1% unit price tolerance for all the items. And then there is all the items but a specific vendor again, and 4% tolerance is available. And then lastly, for all of the item code and all of the vendor, there is a 5% of unit price tolerance. So due to this 5%, we can change the unit price up to 5% of the unit price which was defined on the purchase line level. So we can just change a bit higher. So I will just make it 30, and then we'll see here. You can see the price match is now failed. So it means this price is beyond tolerance level. So I will just make it back to the original price. So I will just check what. So it is now passed because it is within 5% of tolerance level. But what if I want to check it? So I can go to the matching details page, and here you can see. So the original price was 27.25 for the unit price, and even you can see here charges on purchases and discounts and everything is in comparison on this page. So I will just show you here. There are various options at the top of vendor invoice, like match product receipt is available. You just need to click on the this page, and it will show you another page from where you can just see the details at the bottom level. These details are coming up from product receipt, and 40 quantity was basically received from the product receipt level. So this can basically compare product receipt to the invoice. So if the match status is done on, it means this is already matched. So if there is some discrepancy, so that will also be shown here. So if you click OK, so then there is update match status, which I was showing you in the parameters basically, and here you can manually update the status and it will check whether everything is okay or not. So I will just press update match status, and on the match status field you can see whether it is passed or it is failed. So it is passed now because everything is under the tolerance limits, and you can also see the product receipt quantity is also matched and passed, and price is also matched and passed. So then I will show you at the line level, invoice line level, you can also see from here match product receipts and matching details, and if there are policy violations. So I will just show you one by one, and basically match product receipt is same form or same page which I have just shown you. So it will basically check the quantities which are available on product receipt to the quantities on invoice. And then there is a matching details which will show you everything, and here you can see the unit price. This is basically for three-way matching, so you can see the net unit price and all the fields are compared here. So this is one of the page, and also from here you can go to the policy violation itself, and the matching status here it is shown as passed. And if there are unit price matching errors, so it will turn yes, and same is for quantity matching errors exist. So if you go to the policy violations, so if there are certain violations which exist, so they will be shown here. So the same page is also opened separately. Once you go to the invoice line group here and open the policy violation, so that page will also be shown here. Okay, so apart from this, there is a product receipt quantity match and price match, which we already discussed. If you want to change anything here and it is more than tolerance limit, so it will not be passed then. So now one more thing we need to just check here. If we go to the totals, so since we have enabled the totals matching as well, so what we'll do is we'll put here a discount amount of -100. So this will increase the total amount as well. So So now it is 1190, and I will just close the totals form, and then I will just close the vendor invoice form. Okay, so now I will edit the pending vendor invoice, and now you can see match status is not performed. So I must update the match status here. So once I update the match status, it's showing me the failed status. So if I go back, this is failed because of total matching is not performed, and it is not as per the requirement or the tolerance. So I have just removed the total discount, and I will close the form, and again I need to just close this and again edit. So now I will just perform the match status, and it's showing the pass status. That means now totals are also matching. So in this way we can also perform the charges also. Charges will be also, you can put the charges, so the comparison of charges totals will be also shown here. I will just close it, and then the three dots here, and if I go to the financials, and here in the maintain charges, we can enter the charges, and if those charges are not defined on the purchase order level, so that will definitely will be problem in the matching. Let me go to the accounts payable parameters and check the charges matching, whether I have enabled it or not. I will go to the invoice validation, and match charges is enabled here. So I will put a charges value of, for example, 500 here, and save it. Okay, and I will just close it. And now I perform the match status, and it is showing me failed status. Even though the totals, so in the totals, even the charges are mentioned here. So this means the charges is also failing this. So I just need to again remove the charges, so that they should match with whatever are available on purchase order. And on the purchase order, I have not entered any of the charges. So I will just go to maintain charges, and I will remove this charges line here, and I will just close and update match status, and now it is showing me pass status. So until it is passed, you cannot post the vendor invoice. So in this way we have just checked. So basically there are 4 kind of matching available on accounts payable vendor invoice matching. In order to conclude the session, I would just briefly explain what are those which we have just seen in this demo. So first of all are the totals matching, and totals matching are without any details, in order for the accounting people or professionals who are working on entering the vendor invoices without checking the totals of whatever the vendor has submitted to you when you are entering a vendor invoice or recording a vendor invoice. So whatever the details on the purchase order are available, so the totals will be matched on what you are entering on vendor invoice to what were entered before on purchase order level. So what are the two-way and three-way matching? Two-way matching is simply the price. Two-way matching is basically pricing matching on the vendor invoice to the pricing on the purchase order level. And if you include also the quantity which was posted by the selected product received, so that will be called a three-way matching. Three-way matching includes price information, that is vendor invoice price to the pricing information available on purchase line, and as well as the quantity to be compared to whatever were delivered as a product received. So two things will be matched, pricing and quantity, but with a different document from vendor invoice to purchase order, and the vendor invoice and product received for the quantity. So Then there is a charges matching, and charges matching are simply whatever charges are entered on vendor invoice should match the charges on the purchase order level. So this is it, and you have also seen various fields as well as various pages on which you can just explore if there are certain discrepancy, like matching product receipt, matching details, policy violation, and then we have also explained about the accounts payable parameter, where the invoice validation tab is available, and there you can define various settings like these: invoice validation, the main switch, and then invoice totals matching, price and quantity matching, and charges matching. And then we have also seen here price tolerance, matching policy, invoice tolerance, charges tolerance, item price tolerance group. So these are various settings which you can additionally define. For example, if you have defined something on parameter, that will be applicable to everything until it is defined in the policy. So policy will be supersede, and then the last, the parameter will be checked. So I will just close this, and then there is invoice totals tolerance also we can define here, and any vendor account number and the percentage of invoice totals tolerance will be defined here. So this will be basically superseded. I mean the priority will be for this, and then at last the parameters. So in the same fashion, there are charges tolerance which you can define here by the charges code. So then this is also in term of percentage, and then item price tolerance groups are also available additionally in order to group the various tolerance item price tolerance groups. So then if you have defined a group, those groups will be then selected here. Once you click a new, and then item code group is selected here, and then you can pick a group which was defined in the item price tolerance group. So that group will be selected here instead of item group. So this is it, and please if you have any comments or any questions, just let me know. I will try to find the answer to your question. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Bye bye.